Hi guys, so today I'm going to talk to you about this. Well, sort of about this. More accurately, about this. So yesterday, me and my family went to the Harry Potter studio tours. If you don't know what they are, basically in London, kind of just outside of London in Watford, there's this big kind of museum-like thing where you can go and walk around and see loads of different bits of sets of what they used to film the Harry Potter films. And you can also kind of look at costumes and kind of ride a virtual broomstick and learn some wand moves and stuff. So we went there yesterday. If you haven't seen the Harry Potter films, I would definitely recommend them. If you haven't read the Harry Potter books, I would also very, very strongly recommend these books. They were, for me, Harry Potter was definitely the first kind of book series that I loved. I remember being read the books, so like I didn't read them the first time round, because when the first one came out I was like 5 months old or something. But my mum read the first 2 books to me and my brother kind of in 2000, and then every year after, when a new book came out, she would sit and read them to us all the way up until kind of like the 7th one. But so I kind of remember growing up with this book series, and they really meant a lot to me, and they're wonderful, wonderful books. I reread them kind of 2 years ago and they're still fabulous. But so anyway, yesterday we went to go and see the World Tour Studios. And it's not like a theme park or anything, there's no rides or stuff. But it's just kind of walking around and looking at things and kind of reading about the people that did stuff and what props there were. And basically the impact that I got from this is that although these aren't my favourite movies, like there are movies that I like better, and there are movies in this series that I really don't like. So I'm gonna be a bit controversial and say that I don't like the 3rd film. That said, the world of Harry Potter, like, so much of it was done in so much detail. So there's a bit where you go and look at the potions room, and all of the books have been handwritten. Like, not all the text in the middle, but like the notes on the outside have all been handwritten in like different people's handwriting, and the text in the middle isn't like gobbledygook, just a bunch of letters typed on a page. It's like actually thought out process of potion ingredients and recipes, and all the wands in Ollivander's shop have got like hand decorated boxes, and there's so much detail, like things that like aren't even there, that you don't see at all. So when you go into the Grand Hall, there's this big mural on the back wall, and they spent ages and ages and ages decorating it, and then they rubbed away at it until it was like really faded and made it look as if it was hundreds of years old. And like that kind of detail that is so subtle that you miss it, I really enjoyed going to see that. As you're standing outside, you can see the giant chess pieces used in the 1st film. As you walk inside, there's a waiting area, and the rooms are kind of lined with all of these photos from the cast. There's also models used in the movies, like the flying cart and the globe from the top of the astronomy tower. As you're making your way through the line, you can see the cupboard under the stairs, and then you're led into the Great Hall, through the big doors, and there's all these original statues that you can hardly see, as well as the dueling table from the 2nd film. There's fireplaces, and there's so much detail that you just wouldn't see if you weren't looking for it. They have costumes from characters, including the Grey Lady, Hufflepuff uniform, including Cedric Diggory's Triwizard Tournament outfit, Slytherin uniforms, and Gryffindor uniforms, including Neville's outfit from the last film. They laid out 2 of the grand tables as if for a feast, and at the front of the room was the point system that you hardly see during the film but was beautiful in real life. They'd also had a selection of teachers at the front, all in their original costumes. I really loved the selection of teachers, and I thought the detail that was put into Albus Dumbledore's podium was absolutely phenomenal. As you move out of the Great Hall, you can see all of the costumes from the Yule Ball, including Ron's god-awful dress robes. There's also an ice sculpture not made of ice. During the filming, there was no ceiling for the Great Hall, so they used a model and superimposed it later. There's also a wall of declarations that Umbridge in places, and a display of wands. You can see this Gryffindor common room and some detail about the portraits. Dumbledore's office with his pensieve and all of his memories, and details like the Philosopher's Stone. There's also the cupboard from Borgin and Burke's, and costumes even from some of the bad guys. I never thought I'd say this, but if I had to dress as one of the wizards, it would definitely be Bellatrix. They also had papers including issues of the Quibbler. They also had walls built that were used in the Ministry, and some of Umbridge's clothes, as well as her office from the 7th movie, in which Harry tries to find Mad-Eye Moody's magical eye. They also had the original fountain from the Ministry of Magic and the Black Family Tree tapestry. They had a section of the bridge that was used especially during the 3rd film, and you could walk up and down it. They also had the night bus, which I really loved. The set of the Potter house from Godric's Hollow. You couldn't go inside, but you could look at it. There was then the animatronics and masks and creations that you wouldn't think took that much work, but when you think about it, actually take years to come up with. There was videos explaining what all of them were and how each one fitted together. They had body doubles for characters that needed to be dead in some scenes, and models of creatures that are only used in the films. They also had some animatronic models, including a book that was used during the 3rd film. And a Hedwig that turned her head when you pressed a button. They also had models that didn't move, for example the small Voldemort creature, and also tiny dragons used during the 4th film. They had a moving Buckbeak. Obviously hippogriffs don't exist in real life, so needing one that moved was incredibly important to make it accurate during the film. They also had small models so that they could do sweeping scenes. Next you go into Diagon Alley. And the thing that amazed me about this was the detail. Even shops where you don't see them for long had real things in the windows and posters that you wouldn't be able to read while watching the films, but that just made it feel even more realistic. My only wish is that I could go shopping down Diagon Alley, because there are things that I would love to buy from Weasley Wizard Wheezes. They'd created loads of jokes that were never used during the film, but were just sat in the windows. You then go into a technical drawing room where you see all of these mapped out creations. They had models of places like Hogsmeade and some parts of Hogwarts, and they also had technical drawings of things like the Triwizard Tournament Cup and Dumbledore's podium. You then go into a corridor and there's concept art that was obviously drawn based on the books rather than on the films, and it was really lovely to see different people's interpretations of how things should be translated from the page to the screen. I especially loved some of the paintings, and I think my favourite one was possibly the one of Albus Dumbledore's graveside. They also, at the end of this corridor, had a statue that wasn't actually in the books, but was used in the films as the designer and architect of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You then go on to the White Card Model Corridor. This is a place where they've made smaller models made out of white cards, so they're not really durable and you can't use them for anything, but they help to decide how big something needs to be in real life and what kind of shots they can design on green screen. They had everything from Hogwarts Castle to the Whomping Willow to the Burrow. They even had bits from the World Cup Stadium. There are some things that were here that I didn't even think you'd need white card models for. So the taps in the prefect's bathroom that are used during the 4th film, or the Beauxbatons Academy carriage. There was even more concept art down this corridor, and again, the detail and effort that must have been put into these pieces of art was astounding. Some of the white card models were interior designs and some of them were exterior. Often they had the same building, interior and exterior, next door to each other, so that designers could figure out how big something needed to be able to look from the outside without making it impossible for the inside to be realistic. Obviously, some of these white card models were necessary and kind of obvious that they would be there. Other things weren't quite so obvious. During the 7th film, they go to Luna Lovegood's house, and I was amazed to see that they had a white card model of the press that they use for the Quibbler. Despite being only in one scene in one movie, the Owlery had its own white card model as well. Once you leave the white card model corridor, you go into a larger room that has an even bigger model. This time, it's of the Castle of Hogwarts. That is actually what it looks like. You think it would be a small model, but actually it's about the size of 2 6-foot men stood on top of each other. The detail is incredible, and all of the trees and shrubs and grass are all actual plants. This was used so that when they had sweeping shots, they could use a castle that looked the way they wanted, because obviously there is no real Hogwarts castle. You then go into Ollivander's wand shop, and each of the wand boxes was hand decorated with a member of the cast or crew's name. I thought this was really beautiful because I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of people and the amount of time and effort it took to make these films. It was incredibly awe-inspiring. If you want to go and see the Harry Potter studio tours, I would definitely recommend it. It is kind of expensive, but I really think it was worth the money. My ticket was 30 quid because I'm 17 and therefore a grown up or something stupid. But they tell you that you're recommended to spend 3 hours there. We spent 4.5 hours, and I could have spent longer there. I did ride a broomstick, but I didn't have a duel with a Death Eater, which was a thing that you could do because it's wand week. So I could have happily spent 6 hours there. And to do it in 3 hours is quite a feat. You'd have to kind of properly just go, oh, that's pretty, next thing. I didn't want to do that. I stood and I read all the bits of information. And I just really had a great time. But yeah, like, if you want to go and see it, I would definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you again later. Bye.